Hi, everybody. We have a lot of people trickling in right now, so we're going to wait a couple minutes while everybody gets in the door. Okay, it's about 8:02. Looks like we have about 40 people here, so we'll go ahead and get started. I know a couple people actually told me they're going to be a couple minutes late, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar. We're happy to be able to bring you the first ever Arts and Culture Accessibility Cooperative webinar entitled Open Access, Connecting with Isolated Communities. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, but I just wanted to go through a few technical things first. If you dialed in through your computer, you're automatically connected through your computer audio. If you would rather call in, you can do so. The phone number is on your screen there. It's 1-312-626-6799. The access code is 923-106-725. If at any point during the meeting you would like to switch from your computer to your phone and you didn't write that info down, that's fine. Just go ahead and ask us in the chat and we'll get it over to you. Please remember that if you are currently on your phone or you are switching to your phone, make sure to mute your phone. A recording of this webinar will be emailed to you, so you don't have to worry about taking notes or writing down what's on the screen. Your microphones are all currently muted. At the bottom of your screens is a toolbar where you'll find the Q&A button. Please submit questions throughout the presentations here. After all the presentations, we will answer as many questions as we can from this section. At that time, you may also use the raise your hand button also on the bottom toolbar, at which point we can unmute you individually so you can ask your question without having to type. At the conclusion of the webinar, you will have an opportunity to fill out a survey. It'll only take about 3 minutes, and your feedback is really important to us, so please take a couple minutes to let us know what you think. I can also email that survey directly to you. And finally, if you aren't already a member of the ACAC Facebook group, please join us. You can scan the QR code at the upper left of the screen with your phone's camera. You can also search Facebook for Arts and Culture Accessibility Cooperative, or you can go directly to facebook.com/groups/ACACSTL. And again, we're really glad you could join us for this virtual Arts and Culture Accessibility Cooperative Forum, Open Access, Connecting with Isolated Communities. We hope you are all safe and you are all self-isolating. As many of you know, this is our first ever virtual ACAC, so we're doing our best to ensure it's accessible. We have presenters today from 3 great St. Louis cultural institutions, the St. Louis Zoo, Shakespeare Festival St. Louis, and one of the city's newest attractions, the St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station. My name is Megan Harms, and I'm the Arts and Culture Coordinator for Mind's Eye. I'm the person that sends you all those emails about these events. I want to quickly touch on an important topic that is extremely relevant right now, particularly with isolated communities, and that is the census. As you all should probably know by now, the 2020 census is here. The most important question is who is counted, and the simple answer is everyone. Everyone gets counted. The census counts all persons who live in the United States on April 1st, 2020, regardless of citizenship or immigration status. The citizenship question is not on the 2020 census, and people are counted in their, quote, usual place of residence. So that means the places where they live and sleep most of the time. One important question this year is about college students who normally would be living away from home at their college residences. If you or your child would have normally been in a dorm on April 1st, but was sent home, do not count that person in your household. The Census Bureau works with the colleges and universities to get an accurate on-campus count. If you normally live off campus, use that address, which may or may not be where you were actually sleeping on April 1st. Also, do not count anyone who was incarcerated, staying in a prison or jail facility, anyone in a nursing home, a residential treatment center, or any group care setting like a college dorm. Those are all counted separately as institutions. Missourians rely on federal dollars, as do those of us that live over in Illinois. We all rely on those federal dollars. The federal program obligations add up to $16.5 billion for the 55 largest federal programs. Each state's share of these programs is determined by census data. There are hundreds of federal spending programs where funding is determined by census data. An undercount impacts all of us. Undercounts will impact how communities access education, financial services, housing, and the healthcare they deserve. When services fall short, it puts increased pressure on the nonprofit sector and their donors to fill the gaps. And I know a lot of us in this webinar are with nonprofits, so this is important to get this out there. So here's the breakdown of the federal programs that receive funding. $6.5 billion in Medicaid, $1.2 billion in SNAP, $967 million for highway planning and construction, Section 8 housing, which is a voucher program to assist low-income families, the elderly, and individuals who are disabled to afford decent, safe, and sanitary housing in the private market. That's $240 million, $210 million for national school lunch programs, $173 million for CHIP, and there are also programs like Head Start, Health Centers funding, special education grants, WIC, and much more. Here is a map of Missouri with the traditionally undercounted populations. Note that this also includes parts of St. Louis City and County. Undercounted populations include low income, rural communities, multifamily housing, communities of color, limited English proficiency, children under the age of 5, homeless, older adults, and people with disabilities. Approximately 9% of Missouri's population lived in undercounted neighborhoods during the 2010 census. These are census tracts where almost a quarter or more households did not mail back their census questionnaire in 2010. Without concerted efforts, these households are at a higher risk of being missed in the 2020 census. And think about this, in 2016, which is not that long ago, 2016, 20.7% of households had either no internet subscriptions or dial-up only access, according to American Community Survey data, 2016. Also, children are actually the hardest to count population, with about 4.5 million children living in traditionally undercounted communities. That can mean poverty, complex living arrangements, language barriers, and several programs directly benefit children, like CHIP, Head Start, foster care, child care, special education. In 2010, an estimated 1 million children under the age of 5 did not show up in the survey. There are 3 easy ways to fill out your census: online, by phone, and by mail. The easiest way, which is new this year, is to visit the website, which is www.2020census.gov. You can also call, and the number is 844-330-2020, and you can fill it out right over the phone. The website offers language translation of a guide in 59 different languages, including also a glossary of terms in those languages. I've included links here for the Bosnian guide, as well as a video of the ASL guide and audio for the large print guide. These links will also be emailed to you. If you would like a Braille guide, please email me directly. And my email again is mharms, Harms, at mindseyeradio.org. If you need a Braille guide, email me directly and I'll try to get one out to you. Please, if you haven't already, please remember to fill out your census form. So now we have a poll. So I'm going to activate this poll about the census and it should pop up on your screen. And I just launched the poll now. And great, people are filling it out. Lovely. And we have not tested this, so I don't know how accessible this poll is. So I apologize. Awesome. It looks like I'm going to end the poll in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Poll end. I'm going to share those results with you. It looks like 97% of you guys have filled out your census form, and that makes me very happy. And most of you have filled it out online, which is great. So I'm going to stop sharing these. If this box stays up on your screen, you can just close it at the top with the little X. Okay, now we're going to move on to our presentations. First, I'd like to introduce Erin C. Clark, the Director of Animal Projects for the Zoo Oceanarium Group. As Director of Animal Projects for Zoo Oceanarium Group, Erin helps turn ideas into reality. Working with the Zoo Oceanarium Group's dedicated animal care and operations team, along with designers, contractors, and project owners, Clark helps to create immersive, engaging spaces and experiences for animals and people alike. She has been fortunate to work on projects all over the world, including Vietnam, South Korea, and most recently Dubai, and she's excited to bring that experience here to the St. Louis Aquarium. It's great to have you with us, Erin. Along with Erin is Tamara Brown, Executive Director of the St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station. Tammy Lash Brown, thinks she is one of the luckiest people around because she has spent her career working with attractions in the tourism industries. As Executive Director of the St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station, Brown spends most of her time setting the vision, overall direction, and operational standards for the aquarium. She has also worked at attractions ranging from the Greater Cleveland Aquarium to the Western Reserve Historical Society, Cleveland Museum of Art, and Positively Cleveland, the nonprofit organization dedicated to driving economic vitality for the region through tourism. Take it away, St. Louis Aquarium.
Good morning and welcome to the St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station. We'd like to thank the ACAC for having us present this morning. When we were first approached by the ACAC to talk about how the aquarium connects with isolated communities, our immediate response was to talk about our live stream events or our quarantine streams that are the result of this recent stay-at-home order. But when we thought about it some more, we realized that these were simply tools, examples of tools that we had been using for the last few years. Things that allowed us to stay connected with the community when the only ones in isolation were ourselves because of our construction. The mission of the St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station is to connect people with aquatic life through transformative, immersive experiences that builds a community that cares and acts to protect water and the life it sustains. It's a lot easier to do when I am standing right here in front of one of our interactive touch pools. So there is nothing between myself and the animals here except for the surface of the water. It's a lot harder to do when the person isn't standing here. Or how do we do it when the habitat doesn't exist yet, and this is in the middle of a dusty construction site? Through social media, we were able to engage the community. The community has been and continues to be so supportive of the aquarium, which we are so appreciative of. Social media allowed us from the very beginning to safely invite the community along on this journey with us. No hard hat required, and cover a variety of topics. Things like updates on construction progress, complexities of building an aquarium, especially in a historic building, introductions to the team, introductions to the animals, and so much more. Social media also allowed us to build brand awareness. With so much discussion about the aquarium over the years, there was understandably a lot of questions. Things like, doesn't St. Louis already have an aquarium? Or, are you related to the zoo? So social media allowed us to respond to those and many other questions and clearly define who we are. Social media also allowed us to build mission support through posts and conversations with the community over activities we were doing, things like local river cleanups, and even our shark art project, which we received over 1,400 submissions for. We were able to start building that community that cares about water and the life it sustains. Social media provided us the platform we needed to accomplish these goals before we were even open. So what do we look for when we were creating content? Literally anything that applied to the aquarium, happened at the aquarium, or could be related to the aquarium was fair game. So our general guideline was that we were looking for things that could be explained quickly, that had a visual aspect to it, when appropriate was lighthearted and punny, and also was educational. Here to talk us through a little bit more about what social media looks like today at the aquarium is our Executive Director, Tammy Brown. Tammy, can you touch base a little bit on what we're doing to stay connected with the community during the recent stay-at-home order?
Absolutely. On March 16th, out of an abundance of caution due to the coronavirus pandemic, we closed our doors. We had been open for less than 3 months. Once again, we were faced with the same question. How do we connect to our community when we can't welcome them here into the aquarium? Much like Ross in the show Friends, moving a couch, we decided to pivot.
Pivot! Pivot! Pivot!
Social media was the natural answer for us, but we needed to explore what that would look like and how we could make it sustainable over however long we were going to be closed. We reviewed those items that were working in our favor. We already had a strong media presence and experience with those platforms. This time around, we also had the entire aquarium and all the amazing animals that reside here to talk about. And in addition, we had our amazing and dedicated social media director, our education team, our whole animal care team, and we had the support of a very talented AV team. Of course, we had to understand our challenges also. We had reduced team here on site, essential staff whose primary responsibility had to be caring for the animals and then on the operations side answering guest inquiries. Add to that the staff that were here were split into 2 teams that never crossed over so we could reduce the risk of possible contamination. Taking all of that into account, we felt comfortable that we would be able to provide online content every day in the following format. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, we deliver a live stream of our habitats for 1 hour. These sessions, which we playfully titled Corin Streams, allow the online community to visit the aquarium virtually, but it required limited staff time to make that happen. Every Tuesday and Thursday morning, we host a Facebook Live session. These sessions introduce some of the amazing animals we care for here and the dedicated team that cares for them. During the second half of the event, which ranges from 20 to 40 minutes in duration, we open it up to questions from our viewers, answering as many of them as we possibly can. We also use these sessions to dive into some of the important aspects of animal care during our virtual 101 sessions. So this can be anything from diving to water quality. And each Facebook Live session is accompanied by an educational activity that can be completed at home after the session is over. Of course, we continue to provide the same fun content our followers know us for, like how to maintain proper social distancing using measurements like 3 otters, or an Easter egg hunt on Easter Sunday, all aquarium style. The results of these sessions have been overwhelmingly positive. Our first Facebook Live session, Breakfast with Coconut, has been viewed more than 330,000 times now, and our Aquarium streams consistently see more than 20,000 views during each hour session. Our Facebook followers have also increased by more than 35,000 people. But the best result of all has been the direct engagement and positive feedback from our aquarium community. We have been tagged in hundreds of pictures of people tuning in for our events, families checking in during snack time, and adults streaming us for a calming background while they work. The comments during these events, as well as our standard posts, also tell us that we're having an impact. So where do we go from here? While we are looking forward to the day when we can welcome guests back into the aquarium, in the meantime, we will continue to explore different topics, including those suggested by community feedback. For example, our event with Tommy the Otter was the direct result of receiving more than 9,000 questions and comments from our viewers during our Breakfast with the Otters Facebook Live event. We'll continue to build our content library so we can continue to share stories even after we're open again, and the team is once again busy managing the day-to-day operations of the aquarium. We're also exploring ways to make our current content more accessible to our viewers through alt text, captioning, interpretation, and transcription. Of course, our ability to stay connected to the aquarium community is a huge team effort. Big, heartfelt thank you to Amber, our social media director, the Union Station's AV team, Greg, Phil, and Holly, who we affectionately call the AV3, and of course the entire St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station team.
Thanks, Erin and Tamara. Remember, if you have questions, you can go ahead and type them in the Q&A section. Next, I'd like to introduce Adam Flores, Community Engagement and Education Manager of Shakespeare Festival St. Louis. Adam is an actor, director, producer, and educator based in St. Louis for over a decade. He holds an MFA in directing from Baylor University and a BFA in teaching certification from Fontbonne University. As an actor, he has performed with over a dozen local professional companies, including the Shakespeare Festival St. Louis, as part of the Shakespeare in the Streets program in both New World and Below Winds. As a founding resident artist of Mustard Seed Theater, he worked in many capacities, including helping produce and direct Bosnian American, The Dance for Life, a community-engaged project with the Bosnian community of St. Louis. In 2015, Flores acted as a local line producer for the Every 28-Hour Plays, a collaboration with the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, the 1 Minute Play Festival, and the St. Louis community in response to the Ferguson movement. He began as a theater educator teaching in Parkway School District. Later, he was assistant professor of theater at Fontbonne University. Here's Adam.
Welcome. I am Adam Flores, Manager of Community Engagement and Education at the Shakespeare Festival St. Louis. During this time, we at the festival have begun airing what we're calling Shakespeare TV. This is a collection of online programming ranging from the educational to more pure entertainment. Why we've done this is to continue to engage with actors and our entire community in this time, keeping them creative and moving, getting academics in communication with teachers and educators and students alike. We've postponed our summer show into August, and as a way to fill that time and what would normally be a busy time for us, we've come up with Shakespeare TV, which has lots of different programming from lots of different angles. Our hope, too, is that all this varied programming will allow us to reach people in homes that we normally were not able to through our traditional programming. Our first program on Shakespeare TV came out of the cancellation of our tour co-production of Cymbeline that was set to travel the region performing at schools, libraries, and public spaces. We rushed to partner with Logic Systems Sound and Lighting to get our team into the studio to record the production on Sunday before the lockdown began, and then hosted a Facebook watch party the following Tuesday. In this clip recorded at Logic Studios, you will see 6 actors, all female or non-binary, performing multiple roles. But in this moment, they are moving from one moment into the next using a musical interlude to transition. At the same time, all of the elements of the show are designed to fit into one black case that's large, about 6 feet wide. It will transform into a boat with a sail as one actor stands and is rolled across the stage, and then it will transform into a table, the tablecloth, with 3 actors sitting around as the 4th actor joins them in the show.
Posthumous sails.
So fare you well, my own true love. So fare ye well for a while. I'm going away, but I'm coming back. If I go 10,000 miles, if I profess to you my love, the earth may melt and burn, the sea may freeze, and the earth may burn, if I no more return, if I no more return, if I no more return.
On the more somber and academic end was a 5-night marathon reading of Albert Camus' epic The Play, read on Zoom by our tour co-cast and organized by stage manager Emily Klinger and director fellow Chloe Sire. On the final night of the reading, Dr. Lionel Coulier of Webster University was on our Facebook comment section providing extra information in context and fielding questions about the text, translation, and culture. The actors were in their homes, seen on 4 different screens, reading from the play, while on the right, text scrolls with Facebook profiles asking questions about the text over the video while the actors read. We are also hosting industry nights on Monday via our Instagram live section. Associate producer Colin O'Brien interviews industry professionals. The second interview was with Hamilton tour cast member and St. Louis native Yvette Liu. The screen capture shows 2 people sitting in their homes with their videos stacked on top one of the other. Colin is in the top screen from his home, and Yvette is in the bottom screen from her home. In the bottom left corner, you can see some comments from our fans as they react and enjoy the broadcast. In past seasons, the festival hosted a program called Shake 38, where we commissioned different theater groups to produce one of Shakespeare's 38 plays. The performances took place outdoors, indoors, all over the city live during one weekend. Since we had to move back our summer main stage production, we wanted to have a special content for those nights we would have been in the park. Thus has sprung Shake 20, based not on all of Shakespeare's plays, but on the ones we've covered in our 20 years in the park. Happy anniversary to us. Shake 20 will feature traditional productions by local companies like the award-winning Slightly Askew Theater Ensemble, a remounting of their production of As You Like It, or something more educational like our partnership with CodeJoy from Pittsburgh, a new online program that teaches kids homemade crafts and robotics, specifically designed to help students produce their own work. We also are pairing with Q Collective to celebrate Pride and the theater communication group St. Louis Rising Leaders of Color cohort to commemorate Juneteenth. In this black and white image of Sate's original production of As You Like It, we have 6 actors standing in front of a wooden barn out in the middle of the woods. 2 dogs join them, as well as many different instruments held by the actors. A large artistic piece decorated with leaves sits above them. They look somber, but ready to play. This next video comes from CodeJoy as they explain their work from their studio, which has some of their work displayed behind them in 3 framed boxes. Green and white paneling fills the room, and a desk full of pencils, pens, scissors, and a nice little guy with glasses all sit on the desk.
Hi there, I'm Kelsey, and this is CodeJoy. Imagine a live TV show where you can interact directly with the host. Imagine a classroom that anyone can join from anywhere. At CodeJoy, we've created a live webinar studio that captures the essence of what it means to learn in a classroom. We combine multiple cameras, studio quality video production, and thoughtful teaching in order to bring all kinds of learning to life in an authentic classroom experience. So what do we learn at CodeJoy? Well, we learn coding. We can do coding live on the screen here. We can code using sites like Scratch or Snap or MakeCode. We can make that coding physical and take a look at some of our projects like this microbit project here, where when I click different buttons on my microbit shows different emotions. So it shows a sad face or a happy face, right? We can also do maker education and STEM education. So we can combine craft supplies together to make some really cool mechanisms or projects like that. Whether kids are tuning in from home or from classrooms, we can take whatever materials you have there and make things together. And we can even combine our coding skills and our maker skills into creative and crafty robots. We can then take those robots and even put them in a more engaging and entertaining space. Let me show you what I mean.
Other programming ranges from lectures from our resident Shakespeare expert Rob Hinkey, cosplay designs of Tempest's Caliban by Omega Jones, to painting tutorials of Othello by artist Taylor Cheatham, which you can purchase after it airs April 21st. To demonstrate their work, here's an image of a smirking man in blue line makeup with pink mane and eyebrows, dressed in a Hawaiian t-shirt and hat. Then the same man, in an otherworldly blue makeup, sticks his tongue to the side of his mouth in an intense and unsettling way. Both of these are creations of Omega Jones. The next display of artwork is by Taylor Cheatham. We see an elderly man draped in a shawl looking out to his left. His gray goatee balances out the color of the shawl. To his right is the sun bursting through the gray paint canvas, and below are blue flowers sticking up. The next example of Taylor's work is two bodies draped only in cloth that matches the curtains that are hanging above them, that open up to a dark, windowless view of clouds. The two bodies are nude, pale, with one red hand of the man lounging back, reaching up towards his throat. We have more work coming, and programming is still being developed. If you have any ideas for programs, please let us know. Our Shakespeare in the Park main stage performance of Much Ado About Nothing has been postponed. Performances are scheduled to take place August 12th through September 6th. We are still dedicated to have audio description and sign language interpretation during our main stage. Exact dates are still to be determined. We look forward to gathering in person again soon, and we hope you can join us virtually by taking in some of our Shakespeare TV programming. I will be joining you shortly for live Q&A. Thank you.
Our last presenter today is Chris Blair. She's part of the St. Louis Zoo's education leadership team as the Education Inclusion Specialist. Chris is also on the advisory committee for the Arts and Culture Accessibility Cooperative and has coordinated ACAC events at the zoo with us. We're so happy to have her present today. Let's find out what's happening over at the St. Louis Zoo.
Okay, everybody, listen up. The St. Louis Zoo is gonna be closed for a while.
What?
Hey, don't worry. We're still getting the best care. It was a tough call, but it's the right thing to do.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But here's the good news. We're gonna be making lots of videos and posting them online.
The World Wide Web.
You heard it from the prairie dog. The St. Louis Zoo is making and posting video. Lots and lots of video. You may be thinking, well, the zoo posted video before. How is this different? I have to say you're right. We certainly did. The difference is in content and in quantity. Previously, for content, we would see a baby animal, watch it grow up. We would maybe see an animal get enrichment on its birthday or on a holiday, and maybe we'd see a video of an Animal Awareness Day. Well, now we're going to see all kinds of animals, very different animals. We're going to see keepers talking about their exhibits, providing information, clips of stingrays with just the music in the background. The goal is that people would have a zoo experience and remember what it's like to be there. And quantity, they're going to do at least one a day, sometimes as many as 4. These videos are posted on Facebook and the zoo's blog. The zoo's blog page can be found at stlzoo.org. Then click on the About tab and then click on Blog. So let's take a look at the blog page. So here's the zoo's blog page. It contains all of the videos that have been shot while we're in quarantine. Hopefully you'll find one of your favorite animals. There's multiple pages. I would like to show us a short clip of one of my favorites. Let's take a look. So let's watch while the Humboldt penguins, those that live in the outdoor habitat, go on a field trip. Students are out of school. The zoo is also doing live webinars every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and they will continue to do them through May. We'd like to thank the Boeing Company for making that possible. I'll show you how to find the Zooms page in our website in case anyone you know wants to register for these programs. Previously, you didn't have to register, but we started having students register when Zoom had the security issues. So you start at stlouiszoo.org, go to the Education tab. On the Education tab, go to the Programs for School Groups tab. On that page, click Outreach Programs, and on that page, you should find St. Louis Zooms. Here's the Zooms page. At the top is the topic for the next webinar. In this case, it's April 22nd, which will be after this program we're in now, and it's Frogs and Toads Around St. Louis. There's a description of the program, a registration link, and what grade they feel it's appropriate for. While the interactive webinar is going on, it's also being taped. That tape is then posted on this page as well. So here is last week's A to Zoo. Learn the ASL alphabet. Kids can see it again if they want to practice their alphabet, or for the first time. It just won't be interactive. Habitat Heroes was before that, and it started with one for preschoolers, early childhood, animal magic. With the Zooms programs, we're able to collect some data, able to get those that register, the comments that they submit while the program's going, and then we will provide an evaluation towards the end. Last week they had a real neat experience during the A to Zoo Learn the ASL alphabet. A parent typed this in right towards the end of the program. My son signs, he just signed all the letters with you. He's a nonverbal autistic adult. So what are the next steps? Additional content's the next step. Yes, for the video clips posted to Facebook and the blog, and for the webinars, but the education department has been asked to create 4 to 6 hours of content for 5 days a week for all ages. And so little guys, big guys, even adults, our interpreters are going to tape themselves giving some tours. One of the groups is coming up with some sort of a game show. I think we've come to see that 4 to 6 hours is an awful lot of content, and so that's being negotiated as we speak. But you should begin to see some of that around April 27th. And so that's how the zoo is using technology to take the experience outside of the normal parameters while we are all in quarantine together. Let's end with a word from our penguins.
All right, everybody. Since the zoo is going to be closed for a while, we're going to be going virtual.
I can't wait.
We're going to be on social media every day, so our fans at home can still see us and know we're okay.
I'm going to get so many retweets. Ooh, and more followers.
Ah, the influencer life.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of our presenters for that great information. We're going to turn to questions and answers in just a second. Just a reminder to use the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. At this time, you can also use the raise your hand button and we can unmute you. Our moderator for today is Jason Frazier. He's the president and CEO of Mind's Eye. And while you enter your questions and Jason and some of the other presenters look through the questions, we're going to do another little quick poll. Maybe. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to do another poll. We'll give it a few more seconds here. We'll give it several more seconds, actually. There are 3 questions in this poll. And also, because I don't know if the screen readers are reading this, I'll read the questions too. I don't know how helpful that is, but we'll try it and see what happens. Number 1, since social distancing began, have you utilized online content from a local theater, museum, or cultural institution you have previously visited? And you can share that experience in the chat. Number 2, that was a yes or no. Number 2, since social distancing began, have you utilized online content from a local theater, museum, or cultural institution you have not previously visited? And you can also share that in the chat. That's a yes or no. And then number 3, when institutions reopen, how likely are you to visit a place that provided online content during this time versus a place that did not? More likely, less likely, or the same? I'll give just a couple more seconds there. It looks like almost everybody has filled out the poll. So I'm going to end the poll. And let me share those results with you. So actually it looks like, so we've got there 59% have been visiting online content of places they would normally go. 56 are no for social distance places during social distance where they haven't been, but 53% are more likely to go someplace that they haven't been before. So interesting. So again, if this box stays on your screen, you can close it with that little X at the top. And we have a couple questions here. Before I turn the questions over to Jason, I do want to answer one live question from Naomi. Naomi asked, are the videos audio described? Honestly, I couldn't figure out how to make them audio described during the webinar, but they will be audio described when I send the link out to you. So here again is what the question and answer bar should look like. There's a little raise your hand button and there's a Q&A there. So Jason, are you out there?
Yeah, I'm out here. I was just debating on whether I should just leave that still image of me out when I had my hairline and my beard had better days. So I was, maybe we should just leave the still image, but now you have me on video and we're going to turn over to questions here. I got a couple in too off the side panel that we got in earlier. This one's from Joy Variety. And I guess whichever panelist or who wants to answer, raise their hand, and I guess we can, turn their mic and make sure they can answer this question. Her question is, how are you going about keeping people, especially children, engaged in a platform that enhances performing arts skills, which also focusing on socialization and community for them? We are moving into summer camp season, and I know it'll be hard for the kids we serve to get the same socialization and sense of community without being able to actually perform together. Anyone want to, Chris or anyone from the Aquarium or Adam kind of want to, because I think Chris, you had a couple things I saw that were actually in your presentation.
I'm coming. It just took me a minute to find myself.
Oh, okay.
Unmute myself. I would say that's the biggest challenge that we've had. And one of the wonderful things they're doing is keeping things very, very short. I would also say that we are really fortunate in that kids are attached and engaged with animals. And so it's just letting the animals do their thing. So we have and are creating some activities to go with them right now, but that's not necessarily our strong suit on that. So I wish I had more to say.
Anyone else want to maybe add to that or comment on that as well? Or
I can comment. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. So this is Adam from the Shakespeare Festival St. Louis. This is a learning process for everybody, and working with a few other institutions like Opera Theater St. Louis as well, trying to find ways to engage students in their homes. One of the things that we're also finding is that we've known for a long time that students' home lives were very different from their classmates. Now, when they are able to come into the same space to learn and engage in art and are constantly in different spaces, finding new ways to engage with students where they're at is really important, whether that comes from digital accessibility, how many devices can they get on a Zoom meeting in their home? Is there just one computer that everyone in the family is sharing? Are they using their phones and whatnot? The piece that we're also getting a lot of is that letting them dictate what their engagement is and dictate the times that they can feel engaged. So a lot of work that we're finding is giving the students a task and saying, this is, like a traditional model, this is when we would like this due, and then letting the students find the time within their own schedules and their own days to complete that task and then bring it back is being really helpful. We had, as part of our Shakespeare TV, we had our Shakespeare Squad, which is our after-school program for middle schoolers and high schoolers. They really wanted to do a reading of Timon of Athens, one of Shakespeare's more obscure plays. I would not have picked that project for them, but that was something that they were very excited about and engaged with. And they found their own time to rehearse. They found their own time to figure out costumes and stuff. And we just kind of provided them a platform to share that on our Facebook page. Asking that same question 6 months from now, we'll get a probably completely different answer from people as we start figuring out the best way to engage with students.
Thank you, Adam, and Chris for tackling that question for us. We'll get to another one here. Here is from the Q&A section. This one comes from Jessica, and it's for the St. Louis Zoo. So, Chris, get ready. How many people are on your education team creating 4 to 6 hours of content per week? How many social media, digital media, AV, and /AV or communications people do you have assisting the education team?
That's an excellent question. And again, I'm going to wish I had a whole lot more to say on that one, meaning we could use all the help we can get. So we have a year-round staff of managers of 10 and a year-round full-time staff of educators of 2. And so almost all of those people are working on it, mostly they're driving it. And then it's a way for us to keep our part-time and our seasonal part-time employed through the quarantine. So all of our preschool teachers are in it, our early childhood. I would say it's probably a group of 10, maybe 15, 20 at the very most. I should tell you that nobody has edited video before, and we're doing that all ourselves. We do have a public relations director. He has an assistant, and we do have somebody in charge of social media, but they've told us that there is so much already going on that they aren't going to be able to help us advertise at all. We're kind of on our own on that. We do have a large IT team. They too are also down to bare minimum. There's just a few of them in. And so we did have an offer possibly from our video AV team that they might be able to help us with some video editing. So far they helped us get, they're helping us get the appropriate software so that we know what we're doing. So most of the ideas are going to be things that were in people's heads and they've been thinking about them, and it's just a matter of how do we take it online. And we do have a lot of video that's been shot over years. We'll be using some old stuff, but right now they're having way too much fun shooting their live stuff.
Very cool. Get to our, thank you, Chris. Get to another question we have here too. Are you finding and this comes from Ricky, are you finding your reach is expanding beyond the SEO area with the video content that you guys are creating? I guess this is for anyone who wants, Adam, Chris, anyone from the Aquarium. This goes, I think, to all the panelists.
I can go ahead and start. And I'd have to tell you, I think we're probably like everybody else in that we're just pedaling as fast as we can and making our bicycle while we're on our way. So we will be able to do that eventually. But right now, there's been so much changing every week. Actually, the decision for us we made the decision at the end of last week that we are canceling our summer programs and having everybody put their efforts into the video content now. So everything's pretty new. So I have no idea. I have great hopes.
Hey, this is Tammy. Hi, everybody. We just from comments that people are putting on our Facebook Live feeds, we do know for sure that we are reaching beyond the St. Louis area. People will click on and say hi from Kansas City or hi from Chicago. The other day, one of the really fun things about doing all of this live is that, of course, you hit technical difficulties. And so yesterday, our breakfast with the sharks ended up having to be lunch with the sharks because of a technical glitch. And one of the first comments we got when we mentioned that we were going to move it a couple of hours later was, oh, that'll be so late for us here in Italy. We thought, what? Okay. So it is definitely increasing our reach. And as we mentioned in the presentation, we've actually added about 35,000 followers to our Facebook alone. So we know it is having an impact.
Yeah, this is Adam from Shakespeare Festival. Very similar to what Tammy is experiencing, having people from all over comment when we had the French professor talking about Albert Camus the plague, he brought in viewers from all over because he has a large international connection. The other piece of that we're finding is that as we engage with artists that we maybe weren't always engaged with, they're bringing in different audiences that are even within the St. Louis region, but different and new to us. Last night, Taylor was doing his painting of Othello, which is still on our Facebook. If you want to go look and check that out, the painting is for sale. So please support that local artist. But his friends and the people that are interested in watching painting and that kind of artwork were coming to our page, whereas they maybe normally wouldn't. So we're getting a larger reach outside the St. Louis region, as well as a different reach within the St. Louis region as we diversify our content.
Thank you all for your answers there. Here's a question. It's actually going to come from me. This is a question I'm curious about. You know, during this time, most of the time we're in normal operations, everything just moving so fast and so rapidly. So we're kind of we have plans, but we're kind of going by the fly and trying to adjust to things on a day-to-day basis. What I found personally during this time, sometimes I get a little more time to think about plans, kind of evaluate things. As institutions, have you guys thought about things that whenever we do get back to some sense of normalcy, that maybe you kind of evaluate and went, hey, this is the direction I want to go in. It's something I want to improve in our facility whenever we get back to, large gatherings and things of that nature.
This is Erin with the Aquarium. The answer to that is absolutely. We, as Tammy had mentioned, had only been open for 3 months. So it was kind of a really great, also kind of just coordinated with a really nice check-in time. What was working for us in those first 3 months, what needed some adjusting. So everything from, reviewing our website to expanding our graphic package, changing, what we think this is going to look like from a guest experience when we do reopen, and we are likely to have to still maintain some sort of social distancing. So how does that all happen in the public setting? So it's been while certainly a much quieter time without any of our guests with us, it's still been a very busy and productive time, I think, for the Aquarium. Just trying to find the silver lining in it, at least.
This is Chris. I would have to say that not yet. Yes, we have. We too are trying to think of what's it going to be like when people have to be 6 feet away from themselves and all of those kind of things. But we were not set up for people to easily work from home. In that our technology, we had to get that stuff up and going and take things that were at the zoo home and figure out how that was going to work. So we are still, like I said, making our bicycle, but I'm confident that we're not done with this quarantine quite yet. And so hopefully we will get some time there. I do think we've all seen how neat it is, how much the video can reach people.
All right, I think, we got one more question just popped in here. Thank you guys for those answers too. This comes actually from our Shakespeare Festival. It's actually addressed to Adam here. It says, I know you were pushing your show back to August. Do you have plans for distancing in the audience and keeping people safe when they come back? I know a lot of audiences are apprehensive about coming back into theaters. So how are you tackling that logistically and also making the audiences feel comfortable?
That's a great question. We're very aware that there might be a bit of trepidation before coming back into large groups of large spaces together. The one benefit that we have over a lot of other theaters is that we are not a building, right? We are not enclosed. We don't have specific seating arranged. It is, out in the park, there's space. So we've talked about briefly, because we're early on in these spaces, about how to structure that space to help people see what 6 feet is, and what this looks like. We're actually even a little bit more concerned, not so much about the distancing as much as the amount of people that can be in a space. It looks like there's going to be a lot of, only 100 people or only 250 people. And in the park, it's really hard to figure that out. Like, how do we cap people from coming into an outdoor space? And so there's just a lot of that. We're also thinking about how to manage expectations for what the park will be like this year. We've cut our budget by quite a bit, as well as thinking about how much time we will have to rehearse versus normal situations. So we don't have a finite answer for you as far as actually creating distancing, but our hope is that being in the park, we have more room, we can spread out, we can give people more space to kind of arrange themselves. It might be just a crowd control issue of how many of those people we can bring into an outdoor space. But that's a great question. And if you have any solutions that can just solve everything for us, please email me and we will give you a credit in the program.
If anyone has a solution, they need to send those into a lot of people, coming up here soon. But Joan here, thank you, Adam, for that answer. But Joan asked, kind of asking the other organizations too, how will you ensure safety for the zoo and the aquarium when you guys reopen to the public as well?
Hello. So we're working through that right now, talking about what we can do to ensure safety. We have said that as a brand new aquarium that we are high tech and high touch, and high touch as a challenge now. So for things like we have scavenger hunt screens and fish ID kiosks that guests their touch screens, those will not be on when we reopen. We are trying to think about all the ways that we can make ticket scanning and purchase basically touchless. Thankfully, we had already opened with timed ticketing, so we have the ability to manage the number of guests who are in the aquarium at any time, and we'll be tightly managing that, reducing the number of available tickets pretty significantly. So we're working through all of our procedures right now. We had already implemented some disinfecting procedures before we closed, and we'll obviously continue with those as well.
This is Chris from the zoo, and we too are in exactly about the same place as Aaron, maybe even just a little behind that. But so we will not open if we're not going to be safe. And we are all about safety of the animals and our guests. So I know they've talked about all kinds of things, everything from, do we need to have time tickets? Do we need to have one-way pass? So they're really taking the lid off, and their goal is to open it if they can, do it and be safe. But what that looks like, I too am not sure right now.
Thank you guys for that information. Just want to see if anyone has anyone wants to raise their hand for a question and they didn't have time to type it in, or any of that nature right now. Any questions from the floor outside of the Q&A box? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and assume we have no further questions from outside. So just from the panelists, just a quick, anything you guys, actually I see one in the Q&A just popped up here. This actually comes from Joan as well. The issue is also how to manage people's proximity to each other when they are in the space. So I guess is there a way, some guidelines maybe you guys are creating for that, or maybe, I know it's relatively early, but have already maybe start thinking about whenever you guys do reopen?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and that's exactly what we're working through right now. We do have some ideas, such as around our touch pools upstairs. Maybe we will literally draw a circle and then 6 feet away another circle, and tell our guests that you need to be on a circle, or you need to stand away from the touch pool until a circle opens so that we can keep that space between. But yeah, there are no simple answers. This is new to everybody, and I think the wonderful thing about the community of zoos and aquariums and museums in general is that we tend to share best practices. And so I am absolutely certain that as best practices develop and as we see things that are working, that many of us will incorporate what we have seen work in other places.
Thank you, Aaron. Adam or Chris, you want to elaborate on that one too?
No, I would just say ditto. I think all we sit and say is, how can we think outside the box? I mean, we have thousands of visitors on weekends because we're free, and we have had an open door that just opened in revolving door, and I think I can easily see that will probably have to change. But what that's going to look like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd also really say that I appreciate this conversation today, because this is talking about kind of like what we're doing in the moment. I think that there's such a desire to return to quote unquote normalcy. And I think that rushing to that or over planning for that or thinking that we know what that will look like is going to be really tough. And I think that, as was mentioned, scientists are expecting another spike, that there's all these changes. I think that we don't know if we live in a world with testing or if we live in a world with vaccines. All of these will change what the response is. And I think it's important to kind of, as I was on another call and talking about leaning into the in-between, and that we are in between space. We're in this liminal space right now, and appreciating this moment for what it is, with our eyes to the future, with our eyes to the goal and to the next step, but at least taking a moment to appreciate what we're doing and accomplishing now, I think is important, because we know so little about what will get us out into the next phase. So I appreciate this conversation, and like echoing, we're so uncertain about what the guidelines will be, what the advice will be from scientists and experts, and hopefully that our state will respond to those recommendations. And will people respond to those recommendations? What will people expect as the normal in moving into these spaces, and how can we respond to those? Is so far away from where we are right now. So I appreciate this conversation, particularly about what we're doing in these moments.
And I want to say this too, probably. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Aaron, for your discussions and your answers to these questions. I think as a time we've always said in this group that St. Louis has a very rich scene when it comes to arts, culture, and entertainment. I think what you guys are doing right now to keep people engaged in that, and I think it's making people miss you guys even more. So thank you for all the work you've done, and we can't wait to see you guys in person. So I'll turn it back over to Megan, and if there's any last minute housekeeping things and of that nature.
Sorry, I too had a problem getting to my microphone there for a second. It was hidden behind 42 boxes. There is one more question that just came in from Mary Pat. She'd like to know if anyone knows if there are any zoos open around the country or aquariums.
From a zoo's perspective, most zoos are closed. Many furloughed their people as before we even all had the stay home and work order. So no, they all are taking care of their animals. And I forgot that we totally will figure it out how to do it with visitors, because right now they've had to figure out how to take care of the animals and have the keepers be safe. And so they've made procedures where there are never two keepers within 6 feet of each other. So, which is a different way of doing keeping.
And this is Erin with the aquarium. Just to expand a little on that. As far as we know, there are no aquariums either that are open. Again, many of them closed before their state's stay-at-home order. And then those that didn't were likely closed as the result of those stay-at-home orders. So they're all still, like the zoos, operating. They still have the animal care staff there, but it's a very different aquarium world that we're seeing right now.
And this is Tammy. If I can just add, there are no aquariums that we're aware of in the US, but the aquariums in Asia, some have started reopening aquariums and zoos and attractions. And it is fascinating to watch how that is all unfolding and learn from them what is working and what is not working. And also to see, you know, it is a little scary. There was a question earlier from Joan about another wave of the pandemic. And there have been locations that have reopened and then had to shut down again because they did see a spike. So again, I think we're all learning from this, and we'll continue to monitor and do the best we can to react.
Great. Thank you, guys. Well, I just have a couple more things here. This screen I know is really full of links. Not to worry. I'm actually going to send you all these links, but just in case you absolutely cannot wait to get to the zoo's blog or the Shakespeare. Also, I will say on a personal note, I have never been to anything for Shakespeare Festival, and I now am watching their content almost every single night. After Cymbeline, I watched all 5 nights of the Plague, and as a person that doesn't like crowds, that doesn't like to go out in the evening, that's really a homebody, I'm really finding all this online content right up my alley, and I really appreciate all of you guys. We actually, at Mind's Eye, we actually had we did the Breakfast with the Otters. That was a virtual team building event for us. We were at our homes taking pictures of, you know, our cereal and stuff. So I just want to throw that out there to thank all you guys personally for all the content that you've put out there. So here's some links. I will email them all out to you. I will also email out all of these presentations with the ASL with closed captions. And if you'd like audio description, Naomi, I know that you will like that. And anybody else that wants audio description, I can put that out there. Actually, we'll put them all on our YouTube page also for Mind's Eye. So you can subscribe to our YouTube page, which is also on here, YouTube. Here we are. You can click on that. So I'll send that out to you. Also, we definitely want to send a big thank you to Aaron and Tammy at the Aquarium, and Adam and Tori, who I think is here somewhere at Shakespeare Festival, and Chris at the zoo, and of course Jason at Mind's Eye. And a big, big shout out to our ASL interpreter, Hannah, who worked so hard on this for me and listened to me saying, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this, over and over. Also everybody that helped on the back end, Angela from Mind's Eye, and my friend Jessie that helped me put the ASL interpreter into this video, and everybody at LAMP for also helping us out. And also we want to thank our sponsors at the Lutheran Foundation of St. Louis, the Lighthouse for the Blind St. Louis, Ameren, Illinois, Arts and Education Council, and Emerson. And thank all of you. Thank you guys for coming. We had almost 60 people on this webinar, and it was our very first one. So thank you so much. If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, remember to check that out. There should be a survey that pops up in a different window. We'd really appreciate it if you fill that out. And also, don't forget to fill out your census. Although most of you have done that already, please fill out your census. And unless anybody else has anything, I think we're done. Anyone? Jason?
Nope, okay. I'm good. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good week. We'll see you on the flip side.